Let's recap. First one is focusing on the result that you want. Second is absolute clarity about what you want. Third was purpose. Fourth was motivation. Fifth was resources. Sixth was action. Let's say all of these have been met and you have started taking action. Will things proceed according to the way you thought they would proceed once you start taking action?
Not always.
Not always. Things will go topsy-turvy. Will. I am not saying may. I am saying will go topsy-turvy. Now, this is where the last human characteristic that I want to talk about today, it's not the last human characteristic, but that's what I want to talk about today, is your resolve, your commitment, your accountability to your goals. Because when things start going wrong, it becomes even more important to stay focused on the result. Life is very, very funny. It has a way of creating obstacles just when you had never anticipated you were actually on a phenomenal rise. It can happen. And if it happens a little more often than to your own liking, then it can start putting shadows on your motivation. It can start putting doubts on your purpose. It can start creating fuzziness around the goal that you want to achieve. It can do any of those things. But that's where this block I talked about, cognitive logic, the power of choice. You have the power of choice to reorient yourself towards the result that you want. Reorient yourself to the absolute clarity. Maybe the goal changes, but then the changed goal you have to have absolute clarity about. Reorient yourself to the purpose. Reorient yourself to your motivation. Reorient yourself to the resources that you have and the resources that you need. And start working the plan again. This is called resolve. This is called commitment. Most importantly, the phenomenon known as accountability. In my mind, commitment is slightly different from accountability. Commitment is saying, I'm making a promise. Accountability is, I will make sure that the promise that I've kept, I will fulfill. Here's the thing. The goal that you set for yourself is a promise that you're making to yourself. And if you don't fulfill it, what does it convey to your own mind? Think of your mind as a separate entity. If you don't fulfill the promise that you make to yourself, what does it tell your mind? Your mind will say that you're a liar. The moment the mind says, and who's you? You is I am a liar. Because the mind and you are not separate. And then if that gets formed as a belief, then it will become all pervasive across all your goals. If it becomes a belief, it becomes all pervasive across all your goals. But let's say despite all difficulties that you faced, you achieved that one goal with full intensity. What does it do to your beliefs? Strengthens it. Once you achieve that one extremely difficult goal, it becomes like, now that I have done it, I can do whatever else. It becomes a belief. Are these beliefs necessarily true? They are true as long as you believe them to be true. Now, commitment is one phenomenon which I found most lacking in most people. Most lacking in most people. And this is not to be taken lightly. This is at the time of setting your goals. Once you've gone through all the steps and you come to the seventh, you have to very clearly establish how will you hold yourself accountable. Okay, what will you do to make sure that this is the promise that you kept, you are going to fulfill the promise, what are you going to do to make sure? You have to answer that question. If it's your own goal, you have to answer it to yourself. If you are helping someone else set goals, you have to ask that person. That person may not know the answer immediately. It may take some time, it may take some amount of discussion. Spend that time in that discussion. But the person will come up. I'm also running a program right now called 10x Grow Your Business. So one of the participants, he's a general manager in one of the manufacturing companies. He's about to retire and he wants to get into, his wife has started some kind of artistic venture of making lampshades, art-based lampshades. So he was asking me, Anil, tell me what can be a measure of accountability? I asked him, I don't know what will be a measure of accountability, but I'm going to leave it open to you. As a question, the question is, you are promising this to yourself and to your wife that you will do something of this business, of the lampshades. What methods will you put to make sure that you will fulfill this promise to yourself and to her? 1 week later, he sent me a 3-page document saying these are the things that I will do. Just one open-ended question. And it's best that the accountability comes from within. Someone who has purpose, someone who is driven and motivated, someone who is clear about what they want, don't you think they will be clear about how they will hold themselves accountable? Do they need anybody else's accountability method? No. As managers, often, one of the things that I wish I had learned this model when I had my own models of working in the IT industry, but one crucial distinction between a manager and a leader is a manager imposes accountability as per a structured process, whereas a leader invokes accountability from within. That's a big difference.